people don't need to know that.
Exactly. Good to see everyone.
Yeah, good
Yes,
to see you guys too.
yes, beautiful. Thank you for being here. And today is our seventh step of this journey to the soul and transcending our ancestral past. And our subject today, you're gonna love it because we have been like stepping up and up. And the step we're doing today is going to give you a lot of insights. And you're going to get to manage better all the knowledge that we got until today. So we will be talking today first about something called the transactional analysis. And this information comes from a guy, and his name is Eric Berne. If you get to buy the book, you can buy the book. It's called the Transactional Analysis. And I read that book, but then later on, I found another book that was more like simple, the same information in a simple way. So this one you're gonna love actually better, I would say, but if you wanna read them both, do. And the other book is called I'm Okay, You Are Okay. I'm Okay, You Are Okay, and the author is Thomas Harris. Thomas Harris. And these two guys did this analysis, or I mean, the pioneer of this was, of course, Berne. And Berne used to say that we are doing transactions all the time. We are doing transactions all day long with different situations or with different people. Like, for example, if you ask me something, depending on my perception, I will reply. But the question here is, where do I reply from? Because he says that we have three different psychological realities. Let's put it this way. There are three different psychological realities. And depending on the stimulus, right, or whatever it was, you respond to it. So that's what we will be talking about today. And we will get to understand a lot why we reply the way we do to our children, to our husband, to others, to situations, to the reactions, why the reactions come out that way. So we spoke last time about how the memories from our childhood were our programming for life. Before 5, everything we learn by seeing, by listening, and by feeling is what is our programming for life. And what happens in this case is that since we felt these maybe wounds from childhood, or we learned this and we think it is that way, when we have a stimulus and it says, something that kind of is similar to what we lived before, we get to revive the same feeling. Or we go to the memory. So if it was hurtful, we feel hurt again. So that's how it works. Any experience that we feel is similar to those, and we don't remember those memories because they were before 5, or not many of those, but a lot of them were wounds that we still keep within our soul, within our heart, and we haven't been able to see them clearly. So when someone comes and tells you something, maybe you will start crying and you don't know why. And maybe it is because you're reviving the same feeling as it was before. This has got to do with, it's called like phenomenon. Is that the word? Am I saying it right? Phenomenon?
A phenomenon?
Yeah, it's a phenomenon. Yes. And the phenomenon has to do with that. You lived it. You got to experience that. So it happened. And so the phenomenon happens that you get to revive the same memory in this present moment. So it is like
relive
It's
the
like
same
reviving. It's like a
reviving.
Exactly. That's what it is, because you get to revive the same feeling as you felt before. So it's like a phenomenon that it didn't, let's say that it didn't stay in the past. It is still present. Because every time you feel the same way, you react the same way. So it is like a cause and effect, kind of the same thing. So our brain has like two sides, right? Two, how do you call those?
Hemispheres or lobes.
Hemispheres. Is that what it is? Hemispheres?
Hemispheres.
Exactly. So on the left side, we keep all our emotions. I'm sorry. On the right side, we keep all the emotions, and on the left side, all of that learning, all of those thoughts, and what we get to see is on the left, but what we don't get to see is in the right. So most of our unconscious are on our right side of the brain, and that's why when someone tells us something that we don't like, it goes directly to those memories that are hidden within that part of our brain. So it's like you don't have time to think about it on the left side, but it goes right to the emotion, and the emotion reacts, and you reply or you respond to it based on that emotion that came out. It doesn't give you the time to think. It just comes unconsciously. So it's it is like a response that is unconscious. It doesn't give you the time to think, because it's what you felt. You cannot change what you felt. It just happens right away. So let's talk about the three realities. So the three realities are these. One is called the parents, which includes mom and dad. So we're gonna call the parent. The parent includes mom and dad. The second one is the inner child, which I'm gonna talk about each of those. And the third one is the conscious adult. So let's talk about the parent. The parent is the recording that you have here about what you heard and what you saw, and all of that information that you received from your parents. Everything you learned from your parents. And whatever it was, you kept that as a thought, since they were our models, we follow, right? Because those are the ones we are learning from. Our parents or whoever was taking care of us. Whatever they said, we follow because we see them that they are the big ones. We don't have that power they have. Or we can, we need to follow them in order to survive, for example. And we just do. We see them as they are right, we are not. They know, we don't. But of course, our parents are carrying also all of these unconscious limitations, right? All of these, this is supposed to be this way or that way, or is this way and you have to do it this way because I'm telling you that you have to do it this way. This is the only way. And maybe you as a child, you don't know more. You say, okay, then that's the way. That's what they say. That's what it is supposed to be. So all of those perspectives that are kind of imposed because we must follow in order to be taken care of, in order to be accepted, in order to be loved. We want to belong, so we follow. At a certain point, we say, okay, that's what you say, right? But the thing here is that we also learned from them that, for example, I spoke last time, maybe your mom tells you, don't lie, but maybe she lies. Maybe someone calls and asks for the father and she says, no, he's not home, and the kid is seeing that the dad is home. So that's lying. And then the kid gets confused because he's like, how is that? I don't get that part. But he's learning by seeing and by hearing. That's what it is. So the parents, or everything that you learn from the parent, you're kind of following the same as well. The programming was by seeing, listening, and feeling. Oh, and maybe, and this is the other part, the first part is more about the listening and by seeing, and the inner child is more about what you felt. So the recording of all the events that happen inside of you are the ones that are from the inner child, the ones you felt about those situations. For example, let's talk about the same case. In the first case, we're talking about the exterior fact. Oh, my mom received the call and said that my dad wasn't home and my dad is here seated in front of me. So what should I think about that? That's called a lie. We would say at this time, we would say that's kind of a lie. And maybe this family has something that haven't been able to resolve called betrayal. Because believe it or not, lying is a sort of a betrayal. So maybe someone in that family has those sort of memories, mom or dad or both. And this child is learning the same way. So when he grows up, he maybe would lie also the same way the parents did. And that is getting already the same wound. And maybe if someone lies to them, they will feel bad. And maybe they will behave. We spoke about how a person with the wound of betrayal will react, maybe in a controlling way. I don't want anybody to betray me, so I become the controller. So all of these things that get active within ourselves is because I'm feeling the same thing I felt when I was a child. So this one that doesn't apply really to the exactly to the kid, but maybe this kid felt betrayed by mom or dad. Maybe dad told this kid that he was going to take him to the park to play, and maybe he didn't. So maybe this child is gonna feel betrayed by that because this family already has the same unresolved memory, which is betrayal. We're talking about betrayal in this case. It could be any of the other ones. See? So maybe he cried because he lied to him, or maybe he got angry at him, and that's a sort of a betrayal. So depending on how he felt, maybe when this child becomes adult and someone lies to him, will react maybe the same way he reacted in front of his dad, or crying or angry. See how it is? What he felt. So it's like right away, it's like it doesn't have time to think because it's unconscious. It is a memory that is lying within our unconscious mind, and it's also imprinted in our memory, cellular memory. So all of these recordings, depending on which one it is, and we spoke about the wounds already. For example, if a kid is criticized a lot, let's put this example, and maybe he thinks that he's not good enough. Maybe dad or mom used to tell them, no, that's not the way, you don't know how to do it, let me do it for you, that's not the way I told you, you know, all of these things. The kid at a certain point would say, maybe it's me, I'm not good enough, right? And might feel guilty about it because it's not good enough for mom, not good enough for dad maybe. So when they grow up, maybe someone criticized this person as an adult, and this person is going to feel hurt. It's gonna be hurtful for them. I'm guilty of not being good enough. So the same memory comes back, but they don't get to realize what it is that they are feeling because it's in an unconscious level. Yeah, but you react in a way that maybe if someone tells you, that you're not good enough. Maybe you stay quiet, but deep inside you, your wound awakens. And then you feel, sadness, or you stay quiet. It depends on how you react to it, because we all created mechanisms to protect ourselves from being hurt. So depending on what wound is applying, our reaction is going to be depending on that. Also, we learn by, like, our parents usually would tell things and in an ironic way, for example. Like they would say, yes, you're so good. But the body language wasn't saying that. So that created confusion. And so all of these memories that we have here that we haven't been able to recognize, mostly the kid tends to say, I'm not okay. You are okay, I'm not okay.
More than irony, I would call that sarcasm,
Sarcasm, exactly. It's like a sarcasm. So we also got to live, of course, beautiful memories with our parents. We have them both, but somehow the ones that are hurtful have more kind of weight. They are, they just are deeper within ourselves, and we don't want to feel the same. We don't want to feel hurt. That's one of the points here. We don't want to feel hurt. So when we are adults and we feel the same thing and we revive that, and what we are trying to do is to avoid situations or people that can hurt us the same way. But that's actually what we need to live or experience in order to see what is happening to us. So that's why we attract these people that tend to tell us things like, that's not the way I told you, and then maybe you will feel like I'm not good enough again, for example. So let's talk about the conscious adult, and I'm gonna give you examples on how this works later. Just let's go little by little. The conscious adult in you is the one that is in the middle. It's not your parents and it's not your inner child. It's right in the middle. So what is good about the adult within you is that an inner child doesn't take actions to change. The inner child only feels hurt and go and cries or feels anger and doesn't say or express it in a way that is not functional. Let's put it this way. If we go to the adult tends to complain and criticize and judge, because it's kind of, the parents were kind of judging, right? Judgmental. They used to tell us, no, that's not right, that's not how it should be. So all of those things reply again in our heads. So what we heard and also what we felt. And none of those two can respond or take an action of change. But the only one that can take an action of change is your adult, your conscious adult. And because why? Because the conscious adult that is here centered, right, sees that my inner child needs attention. See, I am a conscious adult because I can recognize that I have an inner child that has these wounds. And I can take charge of this kid. I can take care of this kid that is within me. And say, okay, if someone tells me something, I can stay quiet and say, I'm feeling rejected. I'm feeling betrayed. I'm feeling, and before reacting, I know it is my wound. So I am the one that can take care of this and say, yes, I'm feeling my inner child, but that's not me. I'm not going to respond this way. Or maybe, right, if someone says something and you reply in the same way your parents would do, then you can say, I'm not going to reply just as my parents would do it. I'm going to take a different action. So the adult within you kind of sees the whole scene and analyzes and say, okay, how can I change this instead of taking an action that could be unconscious? It is the one that says, okay, this is what's happening, I'm taking care of this. This is what is happening, I'm taking care of this. And then I can move forward, taking a different direction if I act from another place, from a center place, because any of these two is center. None of these two is center, only this one here. And the news are this, that we mostly, almost all the time, when we have someone telling us something or something happens, first reaction comes from our inner child. Fear. Oh, what am I gonna do? I don't know what to do. So we go crazy because our inner child doesn't know what to do. And if we make a mistake, maybe we listen our parents telling us in our head, I told you not to do it that way. Didn't I tell you that you did it this way? Why did you do it that way? So you feel guilty again. So those are the things that are playing here within ourselves. And of course, what we're trying to do is become this centered adult instead of allowing these other two energies to pull us, you know, here and there. And we ended up later on or feeling bad because of the way I reacted, or not understanding why I reacted that way, but why did I cry in that way? It wasn't really that much, but it wasn't you, it was your inner child, see? So we need to understand these three realities, but mostly understand that the first stimulus, your inner child is going to be, it's like, what did he say? What did she say? Why is she saying that about me? What is, like, all of these things start like moving around here, and we can take care of that inner child. And maybe if we know ourselves better, that's why I spoke about the wounds. Oh, that's my wound. That's why I'm feeling this way. And if you have been processing and healing that, maybe it doesn't get you. You know that you are in a process of healing something, but it doesn't get you like when you don't know what it is.
And Maya, were you saying that the response of the parents is maybe the second response then for most people?
It depends on what it is. Or if you do something wrong and you feel you did something wrong, then you will listen to your parent telling you, oh, why did you do it this way? I always told you not to do it that way. You didn't listen to me, you know, because the parents are not there, but we still have them in those memories. They are here. So we revive the same thing because now we judge ourselves. Oh, I didn't do it right. So I listened right away to the voice. My parents used to tell me that I'm not. So now this part that is coming is very interesting. So he says that we have 4 main transactions, and we're gonna talk about this because this will give you more insights about what is happening within ourselves. So the 4 main transactions are this. The very first one is the one I just told you. You are okay, I'm not okay. So mostly this child feels like I'm not good enough, or I'm less, or the other ones know more than me, or things like that. You know, it's like I always feel like I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm sorry, I did it wrong. Oh, my fault. I'm sorry. So it's like, you are okay, I'm not okay. Just to see if maybe you feel that way sometimes, because that means that you are kind of telling your parents, you are okay, I'm not. So I'm not responding from my adult. Because if I'm accepting that I'm wrong, right? And I like, you are okay, I'm not, maybe I become the inner child and the other person becomes maybe my parent. See, I'm gonna talk about the transactions. It happens like this. Someone tells you something and you feel you did it wrong. So maybe at that moment that you are here, you become your inner child and the other person becomes the adult. So mom and dad. See how it is? Someone tells you something and you feel like you're less or you did it wrong or you're always wrong, then you become a child and the other person becomes the parent. I told you not to blah, 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 the blah, 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 the criticizing, the judging, the guilty, all of those things. So the second transaction is like this. I'm not okay, you are not okay. And this happened maybe because the parents at certain point weren't present, were kind of absent for this kid. And this kid had to learn how to survive on his own. Let's say that at certain points, the parents, this person kind of feels abandoned. Somehow it is kind of connected to the abandonment. And this kid learns how to survive on its own, on his own. For example, I'm gonna give you an example. And this happens a lot in the systemic world when maybe mom and dad are too busy and maybe the older of the siblings take the responsibility of the other kids because mom and dad are not home. So this person might feel like you are not okay because you're not taking care of me and these other children. I have to take care of them. See, so it's a way of surviving, but this kid tends to say, I'm not okay, but you're not okay. So if someone tells you something, it's like you don't see your parents in the same way as you do the other one, but you kind of see the same. Like you see your parents in another level. You kind of see them smaller than you. Somehow it creates this ego that in this person that feels like I have to become bigger than my parents to survive, for example. So that could be a case. Not every case, but it could be a case. I'm just giving an example. Okay, the other one is I'm okay, you are not okay. And this one is kind of hard in a sense that these children must have gone through a lot of like a difficult childhood, maybe a lot of abuse, abuse in all ways, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, physically. So at certain point, that sort of abuse, the kid says, the kid not to feel more pain kind of blocks his or her emotions, not to feel hurt anymore because it's too much, that the abuse. But at certain point also says, you are supposed to give me love and protection and you don't, you're not okay. I am okay, you're not okay. And this type of situation can actually create criminal minds. If we go really deep in this, if you can see that most of the criminals were abused when they were children. And it's because this is the case. At a certain point, I block my emotions. I don't need a mom. I don't need a dad. I'm okay the way I do it, the way I think, the way I perceive is okay. So I am okay. You're not okay. And this can take two harsh results like, or big depressions that can maybe take people to commit suicide, or maybe a lot of anger that can take people to become criminals in, like, killing others. And really who they are killing is their parents. If we see it in a psychological eye, with a psychological eye, who they are killing is mom or dad, whoever abused them. So those are the four transactions, main transactions that we kind of have. And so let's give some examples so you can understand better. So before saying the examples, I want to say that all of these, once we are healing our wounds and we get to understand all of the psychological dynamics that we are living all the time, and as much as we heal ourselves and we get to know ourselves and we get to integrate ourselves and recognize I have this inner child that needs attention today, or all of those things, once we progressively integrate all of these and heal, we can get more into our conscious adult. That's the only way to get there. Because I'm gonna say this, if I don't want to grow, then I will be the victim all the time. I will be the victim because I don't want to grow. I need attention, I need love, I need someone to help me, I need. And that need is because no one gave me what I thought I needed or what I felt I needed. And any transaction happens, and this person is always to become the child. Goes to the child. Oh, but for me, I need help. I don't know how to do it. Please help me. I don't know. So it becomes the victim and takes the other person to become the parent.
Pobrecito.
Pobrecito. Exactly. So that's why it's important for us to take actions of change. Or we tend to be the one that is always criticizing, judging, what it should be in society, what it should be by other people, why people don't do, or why people do, or why the way is by, that's why we're living this today, or the world is terrible, and the government is terrible, and they just complain, but they don't do anything about it. So because we are keeping the same. It's a repetitive pattern as well. Mm-hmm.
So the problem of both the bully and the victim is the same problem, the inner child that didn't get what they needed.
Yeah, we can say that the bully can happen, for example, in the last one. I'm okay, you're not okay, because there was bully there. It's a sort of a bully. It was an abuse. So yes, definitely, it is important to see all of this and how we respond first in front of any situation or any person. What transactions am I playing? So I'm gonna give some examples here. Let's talk about one from the exterior world. Let's put it this way. Let's say that it's a couple, a man and a woman, husband and wife. And let's say that I read this one in the book. He lost his keys. He was going to leave to do something, and he lost his keys, the car keys. So he comes back and tells his wife, oh my God, I don't know, I don't have the keys of the car. And then his wife replies like this: didn't I tell you to leave the keys in this place? Why didn't you obey me? I'm telling you that this is the place of the keys. Why did you lose them? I don't understand that. And so who is replying there? The parent, right? So the wife became the parent, and this husband became a child. If he replies, Oh, I don't know, I'm so sorry. It became the child, right? Another possibility here could be that maybe instead of her replying that way, she could say, oh my gosh, let me help you find the kids. Where was the last time you, or when, or where was the last time you put them? Like when you get in last night, or where did you put them last time? Where was the last time you see them? Let me help you. So that would be an adult replying, let me help you. Instead of, because she's taking action to move on, not to complain, right? And so all of, see how this works? It depends on how you reply, you can create a transaction. So if she says, okay, let me help you, then he stays an adult and she stays an adult, and they both can move on and take action of change. Okay, let's find the kids, right? Instead of giving all of this, I told you no to, I told you that this. So all of that, we can see how it works. Now let's say, now let's talk about one that happens only to us, our own inner work, right? Our own inner dynamics. Let's say that I woke up this morning and the day was so beautiful. And I was like, oh, outside looks so beautiful. The sky is so blue. I feel like I shouldn't work. I just feel like I need to go to the beach. I need to go do something outdoors, right? But you have work to do. So who's talking when you're saying, I don't want to work?
Child.
Your inner child, exactly. And so maybe the parent comes right away and says, no, you should be responsible. Get up, go dress, and go to work, right? That should be the reply that your parent will tell you inside of you. And so you get up and do, or maybe you make a conciliation with your adult. And then the adult can say, maybe I can change my schedule, right? So I can still be responsible and call, because the adult does this, let me call this person and see if I can change these appointments. Do you mind if we change this because I have something else that came up or whatever it is? Yes, no problem. So the schedule, you still are responsible. You're taking actions. You're not just, because if you were only your inner child, you will leave. Don't worry about if there were appointments or not, don't care, and then not being responsible. But your conscious adult is gonna make the call and say, listen, can we reschedule? And then go play with your inner child. See? So all of those transactions happen inside of ourselves and outside in our world. And so we need to be aware of that. Let's say that we have, let's say that I want something from, I want something and I want my husband to give it to me. I say, but I want this. And maybe he's playing also his inner child, and maybe he says, but I don't have it, I'm not gonna give it to you. So who's playing there? The two inner child. So I want it, and then he say, I'm not gonna give it to you. See? So it's like the two inner child can be playing between husband and wife, and most of the conflicts that husband and wife have is because of this inner child that is playing the dynamics of the relationship. They seem adults because they seem big, you know, but they are not. Most of the conflicts are inner child, or maybe one becomes the child and the other one becomes the parent. Like if I didn't have my father was absent, maybe I will play the inner child, the inner child that feels abandoned. So my husband can be my father that wasn't there. So I'm always asking my husband to be my father. See? And if he's not conscious enough, he will be playing that role as well. So see, those are unconscious relationships, because a relationship of husband and wife should be like this, not like that or like that, like this. Let's give another example. This happens between a lot of like the elders, because I've seen it a lot. You go into an elevator, right? And maybe an elevator, and maybe there is a man in his 70s, and he's like, he wants to start speaking, just to say something. Oh, the government is terrible, right? And if there is another maybe old guy in the elevator would say, yes, I agree, this is gonna take us to the ruin. We're gonna be so bad because of this and because of that. And so the old guy replies, yes, because our government, because our president, because of this, because of that. So they both hook into the same conversation. Who's speaking there? The two
parents.
The two parents. Yes. They are not taking not action, but talking, criticizing, judging, but not doing. See? See how it works? So we tend to be in any of those at any moment. And I wanted to share this information of the transactions and just to ask you that question, you know, what do you hook into? Into which one of those? You hooked into which transaction depending on who, what, or who. And that is important for us to see, because most of the work that we do in family constellations is related to the conflicts of our childhood. Pretty much all the conflicts of our childhood are related to those psychologies of the inner child or the parents, what your father told you, what mom told you, or how did you feel about that. So that's important to see. So that's pretty much the information I wanted to share. I'm gonna stop the recording.
Is there also an I'm okay, you're okay? Or I guess therapy is no longer needed.
Yes, yes, that's the name of the book. I'm sorry, yes, definitely. And that is the I'm okay, you are okay, which is the adult. The conscious adult is the one that says, I'm okay, you are okay. Because at a certain point, you tell the other person, okay, that's your perspective, I respect it, and this is my perspective, and I'm honest with myself. This is what I want to do, and I take actions from myself, but I also respect the other's perspectives, and I communicate with someone that is in the conscious level. When I say I'm okay, you're okay, is because the other person is in the same frequency of the adult. You're not hooking into the inner child of the other person, or you're not hooking into the parent of the other person. You're only speaking or relating to the other adult. Like, for example, if your husband comes all angry and tells you, blah, 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 and you start like feeling angry or whatever, blah, 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 you're going back to your inner child. Maybe you feel the anger of your inner child. So you got hooked into not the conscious adult, but the other one. But your conscious adult can say, I'm sorry, but I cannot communicate this way. Maybe when you feel more relaxed, we can communicate and see how we can arrange this, or how we can recreate this situation for the good of both of us. So we can recreate situations from that level. Being honest to myself first, right? Saying, okay, what is it that I want? And how is that going to benefit me? How is that going to benefit the other person? So we can create these sort of conscious dynamics. But it's all up to us to experience that. If we hooked into any of the other two, then we lost our center. And the other person starts playing that way, and I play the other way. Or we jump from one to the other one, right? because maybe that person can become the parent and I can become the child. But then I remember that you did that. Why did you do that? Because I'm doing this because you did that. So maybe you can jump from this one and put the other person in the inner child. It's like all of these transactions that happen is all up to each of us, what we decide to do. So that's why I wanted to share today this information because it's going to help us a lot with our relationships, especially our relationships. And what we're trying to actually change is that the way we are relating to others, to be conscious of that and to be conscious of our wounds. That's why we spoke about all of these steps little by little, and for you to see what is affecting you from your childhood. That is very important, because then now you know that you're going to your inner child when you know your wounds, for example, when you recognize them, when you can acknowledge your inner child that's still here, not going anywhere else but here. So all of those things are important to acknowledge in order for us to have healthy relationships and to create order, because that's what we want to do with the family constellations. Our goal is to create this organic order within our family system, and not only that, but with others, because when we heal that here, then we can get to experience that out there. We will be attracting more people in that conscious level, and not the victims, not the parents, not the inner child, right? But no matter what, they are all out there because they are also mirrors. Like if I see someone that is saying something, like today someone was talking about how certain words were so hurtful and how they heard them. But I said, but if they didn't say that to us when we were children, maybe by now we wouldn't know what we need to heal.
I do have a question, Maya,
Mm-hmm.
regarding what you discussed as far as the programming for our parents, were their parents, does that come down to us? Because our parents' programming is down to us, but does our grandparents, like the stuff that affects maybe our mother or our father and stuff they were told, does that come down to us as well?
Yes.
Sometimes, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. If our parents replied that way, was because their parents replied to them in that way. It's because they were,
okay.
That was the same way they were taught. And because since grandparents couldn't resolve, our parents couldn't resolve,
Okay.
and today we are experiencing kind of the same issues. And I'm glad that we are taking some action to change that today. Today, and by only just by acknowledging this information, is a step to change that, to say, okay, I'm going to do it differently. I can do it differently. I can take action of change, be a conscious adult. Saying, no, I don't need to play that game anymore, because it's like playing games. I'm not playing that game anymore. I am doing it differently.
Do you see, like, as far as our partners, when we're making the change, do our actions influence them in a way where they are making change as well, so it's affecting the children as a whole?
Yes, yes. If one person change, the other members of the family get affected by that change.
Okay.
And not only that, not only the system or all the members of the family, but the whole humanity. Because your system, this is you, that's your system that gets affected, but your system is connected to all other systems. We are all connected as one. So all systems get to feel it, even if it's slightly, it happens.
I've already seen, I can give a testimonial that it affects definitely your family, even the people who aren't aware of what is happening. So by healing these relationships or healing these perspectives in yourself, you give space for the other people to change.
Exactly. And not only that, but when you change that, you are attracting new ways for people to communicate with you, because you're
Okay.
not allowing that anymore. So
Mhm.
other people won't be coming to hurt you anymore. Or if they come and say things, you right away can identify that that's your one, and that it could be a proof. It's like the universe sends you proof. So see if you really heal this. And then you won't take it personally anymore. You will say, oh, that was my one. That it doesn't hurt anymore. Maybe progressively, right? Maybe the first time you do, oh, why did that person say that to me? I'm healing this. And maybe another time would be like, oh, it doesn't hurt anymore. And at a certain point, people would tell you things, no matter what the words are, and you'll be like, yeah, maybe I'm like that, and you are too, because we are all of that, you know. So at a certain point, when we heal that, we won't feel affected by that, and that's the way you can really see that you got to change that, and you will be attracting different type of vibrational people.
Okay.
Done. You have your mouth like you wanna say something.
I have more to share on that, but after the recording is off.
Okay, perfect. So let's leave the recording here, and we will be sharing more because I know we like going deeper. Okay.